Before their horses ever trampled cities to dust, the first blood the Mongols spilled wasn't their enemies. It was their own. In just 25 years, they conquered more land than Rome did in 400. They were the most feared warriors in history, but their empire wasn't built on military genius alone. It was built on a blood oath so terrifying, Mongol leaders ordered every record of it destroyed. What they did before each conquest would shock even the toughest historians today. Everyone knows the Mongols were ruthless. Everyone knows they showed no mercy, but very few know about the ritual performed in absolute secrecy before they rode into battle. A ritual that required the blood of their own people. A ritual so disturbing that participating was considered worse than death itself, yet refusing meant execution for your entire bloodline. Let's go back to where it all began. The year is 1206, the harsh, unforgiving steppes of Central Asia. This is where a man named Temujin rose from nothing. Orphaned as a child, enslaved as a young man, he clawed his way to power through sheer brutality and cunning. He united the warring Mongol tribes under one banner and took a new name that would echo through history: Genghis Khan. But uniting nomadic tribes who'd spent centuries killing each other? That wasn't done through speeches and diplomacy. Genghis understood something fundamental about human nature. Fear is temporary, but shared guilt binds people forever. By 1215, the Mongols had already conquered northern China. By 1220, they'd swept through Central Asia like a plague. By 1227, when Genghis died, his empire stretched from Korea to the Caspian Sea. His sons and grandsons would push it even further, eventually controlling 1/5 of the world's inhabited land. But how? How did a group of nomads defeat civilizations that had stood for thousands of years? Here's what they don't teach you in school. Before every major military campaign, Genghis Khan instituted what was called the Rite of Unity. Sounds noble, right? It wasn't. This ritual required every commander, every general, every leader to personally execute 10 members of their own clan who were deemed weak or disloyal. But here's the twist. They didn't get to choose who. Names were drawn at random. Imagine being forced to execute your own brother, your cousin, your childhood friend, someone you'd fought beside for years, and you had to do it yourself, with your own hands. No delegates, no mercy. But it gets darker. The blood from these executions wasn't washed away. It was collected, mixed with fermented mare's milk, and every warrior in the army had to drink it. They called it the blood binding. The idea was simple but psychologically devastating. If everyone shared in the crime, no one could break ranks. No one could surrender. No one could betray the army without admitting their own guilt in mass murder. This wasn't just about loyalty. This was about creating soldiers who couldn't go home, couldn't face their families, couldn't live with themselves unless they won. The Mongols didn't just fight for conquest. They fought because the alternative was confronting what they'd become. The psychological impact was catastrophic. Mongol soldiers fought with a ferocity that terrified their enemies, because they literally had nothing left to lose. They'd already crossed the line. They'd already damned themselves. Entire families were torn apart. Mothers never knew if their sons would be the ones chosen. Fathers turned away children who returned from the ritual, unable to look them in the eye. Some warriors went mad. Historical accounts from Chinese and Persian sources describe Mongol soldiers who would scream in their sleep, haunted by the faces of those they'd killed. But that was the point. Genghis wanted broken men. Broken men don't hesitate. Broken men don't retreat. Broken men fight like demons because they've already been to hell. And it worked. The Mongols became the most effective killing machine in human history. Cities that resisted were wiped out entirely. Not just the soldiers, everyone. Men, women, children, even livestock. Sometimes they'd leave one person alive, just to spread the word, surrender immediately, or face total annihilation. The numbers are staggering. It's estimated that 40 million people died during the Mongol conquests, roughly 11% of the world's population at the time. Some cities never recovered. Some disappeared entirely from the map. So why didn't we know about this? Because the Mongols themselves tried to erase it. After Genghis Khan's death, his successors realized the blood ritual was becoming a problem. The psychological damage was too severe. Entire units were becoming unstable. Some warriors were committing suicide. The ritual was quietly discontinued around 1235. But the secret had to be buried. deeply. Mongol shamans who'd overseen the rituals were executed. Chinese historians who'd documented it were hunted down and killed. Persian scholars who'd mentioned it in their writings disappeared, their manuscripts burned. The official Mongol histories, the ones that survived, make no mention of it at all. They talk about strategy, about horsemanship, about composite bows and siege tactics. Never about the blood binding. For centuries it was forgotten, written off as enemy propaganda. Dark rumors spread by the Mongols' victims to demonize them further. But propaganda doesn't leave physical evidence, and evidence is exactly what archaeologists started finding. In 1997, a joint archaeological team from Mongolia and Russia made a disturbing discovery in the Khentii Mountains, near where Genghis Khan was supposedly born. They found what appeared to be a mass burial site, but these weren't enemy soldiers. DNA analysis revealed they were all related, all Mongol, all killed around the same time in the early 1200s. More sites were discovered. Near Karakoram, the ancient Mongol capital. Near battlefields in China. Near invasion routes in Persia. Always the same pattern, mass graves of Mongols. All related, all killed by blade wounds to the back of the neck. Execution style. Then in 2003, researchers studying ancient Mongol oral traditions in remote parts of Mongolia found something that changed everything. Elderly shamans still remembered fragments of a forbidden song, a song that was never supposed to be sung aloud, a song about the price of brotherhood and the cup that cannot be refused. When researchers pressed for details, the shamans refused to elaborate. Some became visibly distressed. One elderly woman said something chilling: "Some prices are paid in blood. Some debts echo through generations. The Khan knew this. He made us all debtors." Recent analysis of Mongol burial artifacts has revealed traces of a unique chemical compound in ceremonial cups found at military sites, a compound that only forms when blood is mixed with fermented dairy products, the same cups that oral traditions described as being used in pre-battle rituals. The evidence is mounting. The stories align. The archaeology confirms it. The Mongol Empire wasn't just built on military superiority, it was built on shared trauma, shared guilt. A secret so dark that even the conquerors themselves tried to bury it deeper than their countless victims. And here's the truly unsettling part: it worked. The blood binding created the most effective military force in human history. Which raises a disturbing question that historians are still debating today. How many other empires were built on secrets just as dark? How many other conquests required rituals we'll never know about because the evidence was buried even deeper? The Mongols conquered the world, but they paid for it with pieces of their own souls. And maybe, just maybe, some debts are never fully paid. Some echoes never fully fade. Even now, in certain remote parts of Mongolia, locals avoid specific valleys and mountain passes. They call them the places where brothers wept. And on quiet nights, they say you can still hear the sound of warriors crying out names that were drawn too early from a leather bag that should never have existed. The Mongol Empire fell centuries ago. But the blood binding? That left scars deeper than any sword wound, scars that might still be healing to this day.